Welcome to the Outlander Unhinged podcast, where we talk deep dives, wild theories, and the heart of Outlander. I'm Doreen.
I'm Liz.
I'm Jenny.
And I'm Katie. Grab your snacks, Sassenachs. It's time to talk about Outlander.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Outlander Unhinged podcast. Today will be part 4 of the onions, nuts, and mushrooms of Outlander. When we first started recording this series, we thought that it would fit in one 45-minute episode, and we greatly underestimated our ability to talk and argue about fictional characters. So this will be the last part for now of this series.
Okay, all right. So, I know that many of you probably already predicted my first pick, and I will introduce him by saying Roger Mackenzie. Woo!
I'm not saying it.
Let's go. Let's go. All
Let's
right.
go, baby. Let's go. Let's see what you got. Let's see what you got.
Okay, here we go. I'm laying it all out on the table. Here we go. Roger is not an easy character to digest, but I will say that for me, his character arc is one of the most complex and beautiful in the entire story. And for that reason, I believe Roger MacDaddy Woo is an onion. Roger has a lot of layers. He is essentially an orphan, having lost both of his biological parents. He was raised in the church, and that way of life is all he knew. He's a time traveler who didn't know he is a time traveler until the time that he knew. He's in love with another time traveler who also didn't know she was a time traveler until she knew. Roger had 2 feet planted firmly on the ground as a professor at university, and that was stripped from him the moment he decided to time travel to the past to chase after the woman he loves, which resulted in Roger not understanding his place or his purpose. I think that this is a very layered part of Roger that makes him a misunderstood character. There's always something greater for him that comes along in his storyline, and he's faced with the decision of what to do. The act of decision making is what helps Roger to peel back and shed some of his layers so that more of who he is at his core can be revealed. Roger is essentially an outcast for a good portion of the story. He doesn't fit in. He doesn't know how to make himself useful. He doesn't know how to be what everyone else wants and needs him to be. Roger has to make mistakes to be able to come into his own and stand proud in who he is. Roger is also a man of his time, so certain things or ways of life are the only things he has known. And for character development, it is important to recognize where Roger is at every point in his story because this is what allows for his growth and change. When we first meet Roger, he is a young child living with his adopted father, the Reverend Wakefield. When we see Roger again, he's a grown man who has just lost the only father he ever really knew. Roger meets Claire and Brianna, and there's an immediate spark with Bree, a fire between them, and this is something that shapes the future course of Roger's story. Roger isn't a boy anymore. He becomes a man making decisions not only for himself, but for someone else as well. Granted that these decisions were not always the best decisions, but isn't this something that makes Roger human? The ability to make decisions and grow from the choices he has made. Despite what many may think, I see this part of Roger's story as the beginning of his character arc because this is really when we start to see Roger's personality and his thoughts come to the surface. He is layered. And we have to talk about the 2 elephants in the room. The night of the gathering when Roger proposed to Brianna and the day that Roger was saved from the Mohawk by Jamie and Claire. At the gathering when Roger proposed, I have been very clear on every occasion to say he behaved as a child. He threw a temper tantrum. He expected something in return for something else, and that is absolutely not okay. And when we switch to the day that Roger was saved from the Mohawk by Jamie and Claire, Roger did hesitate. And the reason I feel he hesitated was to take a moment for himself. The first person he saw when he was being rescued was Claire. The second person he saw when he was being rescued was the man who put him in that situation. And then he's being told all of the things that have happened while he has been with the Mohawk. And for me, and I'm not saying that this is correct, but for me, I felt Roger was right to take a moment for himself to process everything he had been through so that he could make a clear and level-headed decision about where he wanted his life to go. I would be remiss if I didn't highlight that Roger is the one who found Jamie for Claire. Yup, I said it. Roger Mac Daddy Woo was the one who found Jamie for Claire. And without him, we wouldn't have the reunion we all desperately love so much. And we wouldn't have the opportunity to experience Roger in different environments: the present, the past, and the future. Diana could have written a completely different story about Claire finding out that Jamie had survived the Battle of Culloden, but she didn't. She used Roger as the vessel for Jamie and Claire's story to continue. Why? Because Roger is layered and he must have a greater purpose in the overall story. Roger has spent what feels like most of his life trying to figure out where he fits in. He's an academic, a dog with a bone, as he calls himself, yet he doesn't really have any skills beyond that. This is just part of Roger's purpose. I believe he is destined for greater things and will be a part of Claire's prophecy about her hair turning white. I think that Roger could be a source of power for Claire, however she might need to save Jamie, but not only for Claire, but because Roger has been a thread connecting Jamie and Claire's story from the very beginning. At one point, Roger finds himself back in the church at Fraser's Ridge, stepping into his own, providing comfort and taking a leadership role in a way he hasn't done before. This is one of the many places that Roger will find himself being drawn to, because every place he goes and every purpose he serves is predestined by none other than Master Raymond. Everything is played out exactly as it is supposed to. Roger is also the only time traveler I can recall who has had to time travel to ensure his own timeline would exist. And if that isn't a layer, I don't know what is. Mic drop.
Okay.
Give it
Who's
to
going
me, baby.
first?
Give it to me. Let's go.
Who's going
Doreen's
first?
going first.
Okay.
Yeah, you go, Doreen.
Liz, first of all, you know what? That was really beautiful. Everything you said. I'm going to give you props before I
Thanks.
tear you down. Okay. I'm just kidding.
No.
All right. First of all, actually, I completely agree with you that Roger's an onion. But I want to read something, but first I want to make one point that you're
Yep.
not going to like. You said
Okay.
that Roger finding Claire was a huge part in his story arc. And I agree with you. I think it adds a layer to him. But I think you have to just take a moment and acknowledge that it also shows how easily Frank found Jamie and could have done the same for Claire. And that's all I'm going to say until later on in the podcast. I'm sorry.
I got to say, that's a really good point, Doreen. It's a really good point.
All right. It's okay.
I want to ask a question because I've heard you say this before, that you think that Roger is going to play a part in helping Claire heal Jamie and fulfill a prophecy. And I want to, and maybe this isn't the platform for it or the time for it, because that's something I really want to dig into of why you think that. If it's a feeling or if there's something that happened that triggered that. Because I get a lot of feelings about stuff that I can't really put my finger on.
Davy Beaton.
I know that. I know. It was actually so weird because Liz and I were on the phone together, and I had thought that and she had thought that, and we were talking about that because the little teaser trailer had just come out when they said, their war is coming to the back country and Jamie Fraser dies. And so we were talking about it, And she was, I just think something really bad's going to happen to Jamie and Adaway's prophecy and all this. And we were talking, and I thought in my head, I thought, I don't know why I think Roger has something to do with it. And I said to myself, I'm not going to say that because that's stupid. What would Roger have to do with anything? And she literally, I'm not kidding you. She said, I just think Roger has something to do with it. And I said, shut up.
She did. She did.
It was so creepy. I was like, I
It was.
literally thought that, and I wasn't going to say it because I thought it was stupid.
It
I
was.
don't
It
know.
was.
For me personally, I can't. For me personally, it's just a feeling because I
Yeah.
feel like there's more to Roger that we don't know. I know, him traveling, like Liz said, to, ensure he is born. Like that's crazy to me. He's changed things. He's changed, which I haven't read A Leaf yet, I know, but he's changed things for his father. You know what I mean? So he's changed history. I don't know. I just feel like there's something really special about him, and I feel like he's going to play a part. I made a video about it, and I said, I don't know if he's going to ground Claire or what. But for me personally, it's just a feeling. I don't know how Liz feels, but
Well, I know the answer, but I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, me too.
But
and this
I
is really hard. Doreen and I are like, we just want to tell you what's happening, and we can't.
My goal for the next 30 days is to get Katie to read Space Between and Leaf so we can do a whole episode on them. That is my goal for the next 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
So I want to begrudgingly say a couple things to support Liz because I thought all of your
I'm feeling very singled out again this episode. I'm just going to say that.
I love you, Jenny.
I'm going to sit here with my Dougal.
So when I had made notes on Roger, I put him as an onion, but I want to give you a couple of reasons. The reasons you chose were interesting because those weren't the reasons that I chose of why I thought he was an onion. So, and I say all of this grudgingly because I don't like Roger. I can acknowledge that he's important, but I don't like him, especially in the show. But I think his character probably has the most growth of any character in the series.
Why don't you
and
like
I think
him?
you see him. I don't like him because I think he's a weak ass bitch.
So you like somebody like Dougal is what you're saying.
Oh, I fucking love Dougal. I love Dougal.
All right.
Today.
All right.
Okay. So back to, sorry, I cursed a lot today.
Me too.
But what I was saying is, I agree with you. You see him shedding layers and he evolves when he's a prisoner in the Mohawk, when he chooses to stay with Bree, when he's raising Jemmy. But honestly, for me, the most significant thing was after the Battle of Alamance. Because I feel the show did a really brilliant job capturing the absolute horror of Roger's hanging, and I loved how they did the whole black and white of it.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, if you have not gotten to the point where you read about the books yet, you do not know trauma. Like it in the books yet, you do not know trauma.
I have not read it yet.
I haven't either.
That period of time in the books, it changed everything about Roger. And it feels it just opened him up and exposed him to me in ways that I didn't even think were possible. And in Fiery, you're getting to it, Liz, because you're in Fiery Cross.
Yeah.
And it's coming. And
We don't talk about Bruno.
I do. I love Bruno. But I think just a lot of and a lot of it is cut in the show, and again they have to, but Roger really loses his voice and he loses the ability to sing. And that's a huge part of his identity. And seeing him, you see him struggle with this all the way through till book 9. And it's just so complex and adds so much to Roger's character.
And they really did a disservice to Roger in the show with that. Like, they really don't touch upon that at all. Wow.
Yeah, because you realize, and also, it's wonderful that you guys are tapping into it because Roger is much more powerful in the books, too. And that adds a whole different layer to him as well. So, and I think the final thing the final dimension of Roger for me was reading A Leaf on the Winds of All Hallows. It really changed my perspective of him and his purpose in the story as a whole.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what do
Now
you?
that you
Sorry,
say
I
that,
just took over. I don't even know how you guys categorize Roger.
no,
Yeah.
now that you say that, I think it is a really good point that you made about Roger is another one that I feel he is not necessarily different in the books. I just feel like there's more to him in the books. And I'm only on book 3. Um but for example, I feel like the show touches on a little bit his relationship with Claire, and their connection. But in the book, we really get a sense of how much he loves Claire and how connected they are. And not in a creepy way, but like, you know what I mean? He really admires her and
Yes.
looks up to
Yeah.
her. And I honestly love their relationship that they have. I had Roger, and honestly, I think maybe that's why maybe I just have a feeling that there's more to him because he's in the book so much. Whereas in the show, I feel like he's just lightly touched upon. You know what I mean? We're introduced to him and it's kind of like, this is who he is, blah, 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 blah. And that's it. Whereas in the books, we get his POV, we get what he's thinking. So I think that's just really interesting. But I also had Roger as an onion. And I think another thing, I don't think I heard you touch on this. I'm sorry if you did, but I love how he's able to adapt to different situations. He gets, he willingly goes back to the 18th century, but what does he do? He picks up a barrel, goes to Stephen Bonnet, and he's like, "Let me on your ship." He becomes a sailor. I feel like even though he struggles to find his own way, he still adapts and adjusts to life there, like he's always belonged there. And then he also has such a strong moral integrity. He knows the difference between right and wrong, and I feel like that really drives him. And he's really empathetic, and that I feel like those two go hand in hand, because if we think about Morag and her child on the boat when he hid them, he knows it's the right thing to do, not only because that's his family member, but I think he would have done it for anybody. And because he would have helped the mother and the little girl if he could have. So he has that strong sense of what's right and wrong, and he does the right thing, I feel like, for the most part, even when that puts him in danger. Like with Morag on the ship, and then we see that again with Amy and the children, and it's kind of harmful to his relationship with Bree because he doesn't see it that way. He doesn't see it as how everyone else is seeing it. He sees it as, I'm helping a single mother. I'm the one being there. And as a viewer, I was like, Roger, what are you doing? This is not okay. But I truly think he thought he was trying to help. He thought he was helping. And I truly don't think he realized what he was doing, like how it looked to other people. And that's that sense of right and wrong. It's the right thing to help a widow. I would want someone to help Bree. I can see, Doreen, you're like chomping at the bit.
I know.
I just want to say, I forgot. This is a perfect example of how I always revert to the books, because I forgot that Amy Higgins was in that portion of the show, and I almost just blurted out a huge storyline. Like, wait, Katie, are you talking about?
No. Yes, it's a big part of the book. It's a big part of bees.
The
Let's just say that.
self-restraint I am showing today needs to be studied.
Wow. The award goes to Doreen for the restraint today.
I'm telling you. And look,
just call me Master Raymond. Because I know it all and say nothing.
Roger does not bother me as much as he bothers other people. And again, I think he's another example of the way he's portrayed in the show is overshadowing who he is in the books. The one instance you're talking about, Liz, with him taking a moment to like, look, I just escaped the Mohawk, this is insane. I've gotta figure out where I am. Look, and again, looking at this through 21st century eyes, if that were my son and he was just about to chase somebody, one, he'd be locked in his bedroom. Two,
I would want him to reevaluate what he's doing in that moment. This is a big, like, are you
Yeah.
ready to go off and live your life with the
Big
man who
life
just beat
choice.
you within an inch of your life? And I think he really, like, again, this goes to show that I don't know what the perfect combination of a man is, because you either want them to be sensitive, like Roger's being in that moment, or you want them to be a warrior busting down the door. Which is it?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm the
Mm-hmm.
divorced one, so I get to, like, pick apart things like that a little differently. But he look, he was exactly who he was exactly who he was in the 1960s. What are you laughing at?
You're like, I'm the divorced one.
That's right. I get to
No,
be as crass as I
I
want to
agree with
be.
you, Jenny. That's the really
Yeah,
interesting
just
thing about Roger, that like who he was when we met him, he was still the same person, that same moral compass that was guiding him when he was, in his present day, it was still guiding him the same way when he was in the past, meaning he didn't lose that part of himself. And that is something I really love about Roger. I really love that.
look, to add, like, is it crappy that he was like, I only want to marry a virgin? Yeah, but we're talking about somebody born in the 1940s, and now here we are in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I had my
Mm-hmm.
son in 1997. I was living with my husband. We were not married when I got pregnant. The amount of crap I got in 1997 for being unmarried and pregnant, you would have thought I was in the 1950s. So people have
Mm-hmm.
these weird things that they're brought up to believe, and it's not until you get out into the real world that you realize that they're not that big of a deal. So
Yeah.
I don't
So,
think him acting that way is any different. Go ahead.
so do you have Roger as an onion?
Yeah, I have him as an onion. Absolutely. That that
Okay.
he's absolutely changed because he allows Brianna's opinion to seep into. He finally understands, oh, I'm being an idiot. You know, she's right in this. He really does understand how smart she is, and
Mm-hmm.
and how strong she is. And I think if he were this, like, I don't know, tougher guy, he would never think that way of his wife, and he does. So look, I could even argue that he might be that little bit of a perfect mix. He gets out there, he does the job, he makes himself look embarrassed in front of people to help his family. He might look like
Mm-hmm.
a sticking out like a sore thumb with everyone, but he's still there, and he knows his wife is smarter than him. And I don't know, I could just
Mm-hmm.
ramble, but I didn't
Yeah.
really have a whole lot prepared
No,
because
but you
I
know what?
knew you guys would have a whole lot, and there wasn't much more I could add.
I do
Honestly.
just
I'm sure.
want to say though, it's interesting, and I would wonder if you guys saw this when Roger almost seems to thrive on being the man when they're back in time, and those kind of like parameters that are put in place, because when they go back to the 80s and Bree
Hmm.
is having to be the one to work and support the family,
Yes.
he does not thrive in that circumstance. He does not like
Hmm.
He
that, and that is
doesn't.
another
Hmm.
layer.
It
A hundred
is.
Yeah.
It's
percent.
another
Yeah.
layer.
And yeah.
And I,
So
I feel like Roger's at his prime. Like when you talk about being in the past, he's at his prime in season 6 when he's running the church at Fraser's Ridge. He's like
yes.
a whole version of himself. But I think one of the things that he was desperately looking for the entire time was not approval from Jamie, but like acceptance from him. I'm accepting you into my family. I'm proud of you. And when Roger was standing in that position in the church, I think Jamie finally saw something in Roger that he hadn't really seen before, because Roger also didn't know that it was there. So until it could come out of him and he could stand in his purpose in that moment, that's when everyone really started to see some of the wonderful qualities that he has about him and the way that he could help people without soldiering. Because let's just face it, Roger ain't a soldier. Like, that's it. He just isn't.
He's a leader in a different way. And look, when it comes to
He
community,
is.
you know, if you are part of a religion or a part of your community, you are looking to someone to guide you with your moral compass.
Yes.
And that is like
Yep.
everybody was
Mm-hmm.
expecting him to pick up arms and be able to get on the battlefield. You will be excited to see, from what we can see in the previews for season 8, there's a big storyline. You've seen the picture, it's him with his Bible. It's going to expand, and it's really, really good. That's
Hmm.
just what I'll say. But yes,
Well,
he is a
I'm
leader.
and
He
excited
is
I
to
not
see
the
more of
leader that
that.
Janie was expecting in a son-in-law.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think,
Um,
and the one thing that really makes me sad is that Bree tried to hold him back from that. That's one thing. I don't know if that's in the
Hmm.
books
Yes,
or if
in the
that was a
show.
show only thing.
In the show, it
She,
was
yes,
weird.
I haven't gotten to that part in the books, but I don't know. I only have the show to reference, but that really upset me because I'm like, you want him to find his own place here. You want him to have something to do for himself, but
Yeah.
he tells you he wants to be a preacher and you're like, "No, that's dumb. Why do you want to be a preacher?" And I'm like, "What do you want him to do?" You
You
know,
know,
like what
I think it was writing. I know exactly what scene you're talking about. She says to him, "But you're not a preacher." And I'm
Hmm.
Yeah.
wondering if it
Hmm.
just landed wrong, whether she was looking for him, like, if you're going to do this, then you have to go to school and you have to get um certified, whatever it would be. You get your
ordained.
diploma. And I think it was more,
Ordained.
I
Yeah.
think it was more writing, because yeah, I do think that that's more what it was. But that stuck out to me too, Katie. That was just like the weirdest
Yeah.
line in there.
Yeah.
It's different in the books.
Yeah.
I think this was a lot today. Um, it was honestly, it was brilliant. I hope that our listeners realize that for us, debating with respect and nuance is actually very healthy, and it's quite fun, and
It
that
is.
friends are meant to challenge you and make you see a
Hmm.
different perspective. And hopefully that's the energy that we're giving off. But we are just out of time for today.
Please be sure to leave your answers in the comments on our TikTok page at Outlander Unhinged. The first 10 commenters will be receiving a prize to show our appreciation for supporting our podcast. Thank you all again for being here, and keep tuning in for more Outlander deep dives and theories.
We will see you in the space between.
And until next time, stay Outlander unhinged.